Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anggita Prameswari, and my class is 33.68.02, and my name is 33220106. Today, I want a presentation about helping students handle anger, frustration, and aggression. The first is the emotional dimension of learning. Emotions play a crucial role in shaping students' behavior and academic performance. Among the various emotional challenges faced in classrooms, anger, frustration, and aggression are some of the most disruptive and difficult to manage. These emotions, when not properly addressed, can hinder not only the learning process of the individual student but also affect the overall classroom environment. It is therefore essential for educators, including those in language and literature classroom, to understand the source of such emotions and to implement strategies that help students manage them effectively. The next topic is understanding the root causes. Before addressing behavioral outbursts, it is important to explore why students experience anger or act aggressively. Anger and frustration often stem from the first academic pressure and failure, struggling with assignments, low grades, or language barriers can lead to internalized frustration, especially in subjects that require verbal and written competence such as literature. The second is peer conflict. Social relationships are critical in adolescence and young adulthood. Teasing, bullying, or social exclusion can trigger aggressive responses. The next is unmet needs or external factors. Students may come to class carrying emotional burdens from outside the school environment. Family problems, poverty, trauma, or lack of sleep can affect emotional regulation. Next is misunderstood or undiagnosed disorders. Some students may have undiagnosed learning or emotional disorder, such as ADHD or ODD or anxiety, which can manifest as behavioral issues. And the next is teachers' role in managing emotional outbursts. And teachers are not therapists, but they do play a key role in shaping students' emotional development within the classroom. A well-prepared teacher should have three model emotional regulations. Demonstrate calm, respectful behavior even during conflict. This sets a tone for the classroom. The next is set clear expectations and boundaries. Students are more likely to feel secure and less likely to act out when rules are predictable and fairly enforced. The next is identify triggers early. Observe behavioral patterns and emotional cues that indicate when a student is nearing frustration. And the next topic is strategies for helping students manage anger and frustration. And the first is create a safe and supportive environment. An emotionally safe classroom promotes trust. Use, in, use inclusive language, encourage respectful dialogue, and make it clear that all students are valued. This can significantly reduce the likelihood of aggressive behavior. And the next is use de-escalation techniques. When a student becomes visibly angry or upset, we must speak in a calm, even tone. And the next is give the student space or time to cool down. The next is avoid public confrontation. Speak privately if possible. And the next is offer choices to restore a sense of control. Example, uh, you may take a 5-minute break or talk to me after class. And the next is teach emotional vocabulary and self-awareness. Especially in language classes, students can benefit from developing a vocabulary for emotions. Help students identify and express their feelings verbally instead of physically or aggressively. Activities such as journaling, discussion about characters, emotions in literature, or role plays can build this skill. And the next is introduce coping mechanism and relaxation techniques. Teach students simple coping strategies like deep breathing, visualization, like imagining a calm place. The next is writing about their feelings. The next is listening to music when appropriate. And the next is encourage problem solving and conflict resolution skills. Guide students to find constructive solutions to interpersonal conflicts. Encourage I statements. Example, I feel upset when tick 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 tick. And teach active listening, group activities or mediation can also help students learn to negative conflict respectfully. And the next is intervention and referral. In cases where a student's anger or aggression becomes frequent, intense, or dangerous, it is critical to number one, involve school counselors or mental health professionals. And the next is communicate with parents or guardians. And the next is document incidents clearly for future reference. Referral does not indicate failure but shows responsibility and care for the student's well-being. So, effective classroom management is not only about discipline but also about fostering emotional intelligence. Helping students deal with anger, frustration, and aggression equips them with lifelong skills. In literature classrooms, where interpretation of human behavior is central, educators have a unique opportunity to incorporate emotional learning into the curriculum by building a culture of respect, empathy, and communication. teachers can turn emotional challenge into valuable teaching moments. And the next is solving problems. The first problem is Mr. Johnson is a 5th grade teacher who has been teaching for over 10 years. This year, she has a student named Alex who frequently displays aggressive behavior. Alex often interrupts lessons, talks back to the teacher, and sometimes even becomes physically aggressive toward his classmates. Mr. Miss Johnson has tried various strategies to manage Alex's behavior, such as setting clear rules and consequence, positive reinforcement for good behavior, and speaking with Alex privately to understand the root of his aggression. However, despite her efforts, Alex's behavior has not improved significantly. And the question is, what classroom management techniques can Mr. Johnson implement to address Alex's aggressive behavior? Provide at least three specific strategies and explain how each uh, could have improved the situation. And this is three solving problems. The first is functional behavior assessment, or if FBA. Mrs. Johnson should conduct a functional behavior assessment to understand the function or cause of Alex's aggression by observing the patterns, what happens before and after behavior. She can identify triggers, example, peer conflict, academic frustration, and determine whether the behavior seeks attention, avoid tasks, or is due to emotional dysregulation. This solving problems helps her move from general disciplines to targeted interventions based on data, increasing the likelihood of behavioral improvement. Sorry, and the next uh, solving problems is individual behavior intervention plan, or BAP. Following the FBA, Mrs. Johnson can create a personalized behavior intervention plan for Alex. This plan might include visual behavior cards, check-in or check-out route lines, and consistent consequence. It is should uh, focus not just on punishment, but on teaching replacement behaviors. Example, asking for help when frustrated. This is a structured, individualized plan provides clarity and support, which helps reduce aggression over time. The next is collaboration with support, staff, and parents. Aggressive behavior often requires a team approach. Mrs. Johnson should involve the school counselor, special education staff, if applicable, and allows parents to build a consistent support system. And this is ensures that strategies are reinforced at home and school, creating an unfelt effort to help Alex regulate his behavior. And this is the next problems. Problems 2. Mr. Smith is a 7th grade math teacher who has noticed that several students in his class frequently engage in off-task behavior during lessons. These students often daydream, chat with classmates, or use their phones instead of focusing on their work. Despite Mr. Smith's attempts to redirect their attention and provide engaging activities, The problem persists. This off-task behavior is disrupting the learning environment and affecting the overall performance of the class. And the question is, what strategies can Mr. Smith use to increase on-task behavior and decrease off-task behavior? Provide at least three specific strategies and explaining how each one could help address the issue. And this is three solving problems. Of problems number two, the first is active monitoring and proximity control. Mr. Smith should increase his physical presence around the classroom, walking among students while teaching and monitoring their work closely helps prevent distraction before they escalate. Proximity subtly reminds students to stay focused, and the teacher's presence discourages off-task behavior. And the next is clear routines and transition signals. Off-task behavior often arises from unclear expectations. Mr. Smith can improve focus by explicitly teaching class routines. An example is what to do during independent work, and using signals like hand claps or timers to manage transitions. When students know exactly what to do and when, they are less likely to disengage or become distracted. The next is incorporating student interest and choice. Even in math, Mr. Smith can make tasks more engaging by connecting them to students' interests. Example, using real-life scenarios involving social media or sports, and offering choices in how tasks are completed. This increases intrinsic motivation, making students more likely to stay on task and take ownership of their learning. And this is problem number three. The problem is Mr. Brown is 8th grade English teacher who is facing challenge with a student named Jake. Jake frequently exhibits disruptive behavior in class, such as talking out of turn, making inappropriate comments, and distracting other students. Despite Mr. Brown's attempts to manage the behavior through verbal warnings and setting changes, Jake's behavior has not improved. This disruptive behavior is affecting the learning environment and making it difficult for other students to concentrate on their work. And the question is, what specific strategies can Mr. Brown implement to manage Jack's disruptive behavior? Provide at least three strategies and explain how each one could help address the issue. And this is solving problems number three. The first is positive behavior support or PBS. The next is private behavior conference and goal setting. The third is classroom engagement techniques. Rather than the PBS, rather than focusing only on what Jake does wrong, Mrs. Brown can use a positive behavior support system that acknowledge and rewards appropriate behavior. For example, praising Jack when he raises his hand or stays quiet can reinforce desirable action. Positive reinforcement increases the likelihood that Jake will repeat appropriate behaviors, gradually replacing the disruptive ones. The next is private behavior conference and goal setting. Mrs. Brown should have a private, respectful conversation with Jake to discuss his behavior and involve him in setting personal goals. This might include setting daily or weekly behavioral targets with simple rewards or privileges. Involving Jake gives him a sense of responsibility and reduces resistance to change. The next is classroom engagement techniques. Jake's behavior may stem from boredom or a lack of engagement. Mrs. Brown can integrate cooperative learning with literature circles or short performance-based tasks to keep him and the class involved. When students are mentally engaged, they are less likely to seek stimulation through disruption. And each of these cases reflects a central truth in classroom management. Effective strategies go beyond punishment and require a student-centered, proactive approach. Whether dealing with aggression, tension, or disruption, educator must blend behavioral understanding with supportive practice. This is especially relevant for literature and language classroom, where emotional intelligence, communicating, and student-teacher relationships are fundamental. And that is my presentation for today. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.